Forward here. Awesome. Once again, thank you everybody so much for joining us for this very time sensitive webinar. There was a very important announcement that came out last week in Panama, and we wanted to make sure all of you were updated with the latest changes that are coming to the Panama residency program. I know that for some of you who are listening, getting residency and obtaining your true freedom through getting a residency, getting a green card in another country is something that is so critical for you. And I don't blame you. For me too, it was one of the big reasons why I decided to get my residency in Panama. But the reality is that the law is changing, the decree is changing. We're going to discuss what those changes mean. You have until August to be grandfathered into the current program. The program's not going away, it's just changing. I mean, changing significantly. Right now, one of three ways where you're able to get your Friendly Nations visa is through land ownership valued at $10,000 or more. And that is changing. That's going to be increasing to $200,000 or more. So jumping from a $10,000 to $200,000, a big change, a big increase in what you need to put down in order to achieve your true personal freedom. So with that, there are a couple of folks here that I'd like to introduce, but actually let me first ask you this question. Before we get to them, what's more important, most important here in the webinar is you. And what are your goals and what is it that you're looking to accomplish? Today, specifically, we're going to be talking about how you can pair up ownership of agricultural land, Teak specifically, with getting residency in either Panama or Nicaragua. Panama is going to be our primary focus since that residency is changing. But what are you looking for? And I pulled up some reasons here on the screen why some of our other Teak owners have decided to become owners within the program. Some of them like the security of having a hard asset. So ownership of Teak land means you own the land, you own the trees. And there's a lot of security with that, with having a hard asset. Other people were looking at it from that diversification aspect. Just listening to where you were all from, and we had Germany, the Netherlands, Australia, Scotland, UK, the United States, Canada. I mean, there were probably Ecuador. There were probably about 12, 15 different countries that are represented on the session today. And so I think we're a very worldly bunch. We're very global. We understand the importance of diversification, and not just diversification in another country, but also of asset class and also time length of an investment. Also legacy, for those of you who have any kids or grandkids, the investment in Teak is a great way to pass down a legacy, keep it from generation to generation. This is not a new strategy. Ownership of timber is not a new strategy for the ultra wealthy. It's something that they have done and figured out quite well in order to pass generational wealth on. And then the last 2 points there, freedom and having your plan B. I think that this probably resonates with a lot of you. A lot of us like our freedom. We want to protect our freedom. And the best way that we can do that is making sure our most important asset is protected. And what is our most important asset? And I said it before, it's ourselves. It's you. It's making sure you have the ability to go to another country and spend time there and be there legally should you decide that you want to spend time somewhere else outside of your home country. And it's not, we don't know what the future holds. And I think because of that uncertainty, there's more of a reason to be looking at having your green card in another country. So you'll see an email address there at the bottom left of the screen, webinar@ecidevelopment.com, webinar@ecidevelopment.com. If at any point you want any of the resources that we mentioned, we're going to be offering you a lot of complimentary resources. So stay tuned and be prepared to request those. Reach out to that email address and we will get you the details. Also, as you hear anything, if you're ready to move forward, that's the email address I would recommend you contact us at, so that we are able to make sure you're getting what you need in a timely manner, since this is very, very important. So first and foremost, I would like to introduce one of our co-founders in the Teak Hardwoods Plantation. Mike Cobb is a very well-known figure within the Latin America development industry, between real estate development, agricultural ownership. Mike speaks at a handful of National Association of Realtors events, is invited to speak at dozens of conferences every year because of his experience of being in the region for about 25, almost 30 years now. So Mike, why don't you just give us a quick introduction and tell people why you think it is so important that they think about residency. This may be a new topic for some people, residency and why a green card. So why don't you give us your insight. I know you have residencies in a couple places too.
I do. Yeah, thank you, Rachel. And really, when you were starting to read off all the people coming in, I wondered if you were going to read the 300 plus people who are on this webinar this evening. Thank you for stopping. Thanks for stopping around 20 or 25. It's interesting because even just 6-8 months ago, a webinar like this would bring in, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 people. And the last couple have brought in, several hundred. I think the number of registrations for it is, 500-600 people. We get about half, that come, and then the rest take the recording. The thing that's really driving this is, and it happened before the Panama law change, because again, a few months ago, we had several hundred folks on the same basic webinar, and what's driving it, I think, is a realization, a factual realization that having a plan B is really important. When it's just this theory, it'd be nice to have, options. I don't, I need a second residency. We call it a plan B. Let me even just back up and say a plan B is sort of that Boy Scout, be prepared, right? You've thought about ways to have, an alternative solution, right? For the unexpected, right? And a lot of times, the unexpected, we can plan for it because we know what it's likely to be. The folks in Texas, I think the folks in Texas this year with the power outages and the ice storms, all of a sudden the people who'd put, water and food in their basement, and were prepared, right, it didn't look like freaks anymore. They actually looked pretty smart. I mean, hey, it makes sense to have, 3, 4, 5 days of food and water in your home in case the power goes out, because again, we don't expect that to happen, but we need to plan for it to happen. And the same thing is true with freedom. And you mentioned it. I really like the concept of asset protection, but asset protection of the single most important asset we have, right? A lot of times people talk about asset protection. The first thing that pops into our mind is, oh yeah, stocks, bonds. I'm going to set up a trust. I'm going to put my investments, I'm going to put my real estate in this trust because it protects my assets. And that's true, but those are thing assets, right? But what allowed those things to come into being? For most of us, it was us. It was our hard work. It was our smart work. It was our good luck. It was the combination of all of those things, right? We created that wealth that is the thing wealth. But most of us will forget that the highest form of asset protection is actually protecting what has created that wealth, ourself, and protecting our freedom and our liberty. And I think now people have woken up. We're seeing it. The number of people transacting to get a second residency, a plan B, an alternative. Look, I like to use the example of health insurance, right? Just because I spend, thousands of dollars a year on health insurance for me and my family, like, I don't really want to get hit by a bus to get the best value out of my health insurance, right? I hope it's wasted money, right? The same thing applies with a second residency. I have a second residency. I lived in Nicaragua with my family for 14 years. I have a residency outside my home country, which is the United States. And the important, you're going to get into all this in more detail, but it's important to understand that citizenship is one thing, residency is another, right? I have a U.S. passport. I'm a U.S. citizen, but I have a residency. I have the right to live in a foreign country. Nicaragua in this case. I'm working on my Panamanian residency right now. In fact, I went and had my fingerprints done this morning for the FBI, and I got my results by the time I got home from the UPS center. I had my results. So this isn't a very difficult process to get a second residency overseas. And I'm going to do it while it's $10,000. I'm not going to wait till it's $200,000, right? So the point is that you're on this webinar tonight because you understand the importance of protecting your liberty and your freedom. You get that, or you wouldn't be, taking an hour of your very valuable afternoon or evening to sit here and be with us, right? The thing that most people don't understand is how to do it, right? We want to protect it. We get that, but how do we do it? Rachel, you and your team are phenomenal. You have built up the processes, systems, procedures, the instruction manual. You've got a group of residency experts that can help folks with the how do we do it. And it is possible, but just understand that the time is ending to be able to do it for it's about $21,000, right? By the time you make your Teak investment and you pay for the residency, it's about $21,000. But if you wait till August, it'll be $221,000, right? I mean, so again, you can do it now. You understand why you need to do it. The process is laid out. It's a well-worn path. And I hope that many of you will decide tonight that you want to move ahead and do this. It's important. It's critically important. The protection of us, our liberty, our freedom, the asset protection we have when we have a second residency is powerful. It's powerful protection. And again, I hope we don't ever need to use it, right? But if we do, we'll be very glad we have it. So Rachel, Betsy, back to you guys. I really appreciate all that you guys do. I know you work evenings and weekends. You've already talked with the residency experts. They're going to be working longer hours, working on the weekends to help get everybody who wants to get a residency in Panama through the process by the end of July. So thank you guys for what you're doing for the folks that really want to own this peace of mind and get it done.
Of course. And, it really is a life-changing thing to have residency abroad. And Mike, I know you have your residency in Nicaragua and Panama. I know Betsy, this is something that we both have residency in Panama, and we're believers in it. Betsy and I are living in Belize, and Mike is currently in the States, but it really doesn't matter if you want to live in Panama or not. That's not really what the conversation is about today. It's just getting that first step accomplished, getting the residency in Panama, because you only have to visit one day every 2 years or one day every 6 years now. There's such little time requirements in order to fulfill the residency. So Betsy, why don't you just give us a quick introduction there? I know I'm starting to get pieces about you, but give us a quick intro and we'll get started.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. So my name is Betsy Rosenlund. I am a property consultant with Teak Hardwoods and ECI Development. I've been with the company for almost 6 years at this point. I am myself a Teak owner. And like Rachel said, I started my residency last January, was supposed to be finished with it last June or so, but COVID happened. So heading down there later this month to finish that up. And I'm really excited about it. Like Rachel said, I do live in Belize full time, but I like knowing that Panama is an option for myself and as well for my mom, where we're working on getting her added on there too. As she gets older, I like to know that I have options for her as well. So definitely excited to have you all on here and hope that we can get you all started on this process ASAP. Let's get going.
All right. Yeah, let's just get to the details. Otherwise, we keep going. So here's essentially what we just said in a nutshell. The big changes are coming to the Panama residency program. Right now, there are 3 ways for you to obtain the Friendly Nations visa. One of them is through land valued at $10,000 or more, land valued at $10,000 or more. And come August, that's going to change to $200,000 or more. I just saw somebody sent a message in there, said that you heard by 2023, I think it was, that's going to bump up to 500,000. I don't know. I'm not working in the inner circle of all of these changes, but I do know that there are significant changes coming to this residency program. So let's talk about how it is that you can act now. And that is through ownership of Teak, as we've alluded to. So when the Friendly Nations visa came out in 2013, it was under President Martinelli. It was a decree, so it's not a law, it's a decree. And we just found it so unbelievable that all you needed to get started with residency was $10,000. So at that point, we as Hardwoods Unlimited we own a handful of Teak farmland in Panama. Our oldest plantation at this point is about 22 years old this month, which is crazy. That has already sold out, but we started offering that plantation for private ownership. We took the parcels, we subdivided into smaller parcels, paired it up with the residency, and then people moved forward as a result. So it's not obligated. You're not obligated to apply for residency. You can still hold on to it as a singular investment for that generational wealth concept. But then you are, of course, able to and encouraged to apply for residency if that is of interest. So because the minimum entry to the residency is $10,000, you need either one of those teenage parcels. You see it there in the middle column, the teenage 15-year-old Teak parcel, or you can do 2 newborn parcels so that it comes out to that $10,000 threshold. And then there are the net projections here. I'm not going to dig deeply into the investment. If anybody is curious about the numbers, how we got to those numbers, reach out. We have a full business plan. That email address you saw before, webinar@ECI Development, best way to get in touch with us. All right, so let's just continue right on. And then the other opportunity we're going to just quickly mention, since I know many of you are interested in diversification, is the Grand Pacifica Teak. This is in Nicaragua. For those people who are looking for residency in Nicaragua, you do have to do $30,000 or more invested in teak so you can bundle up. This is cool. You do a bundle of 1-year-old parcel and newborn parcels. So then you have staggered payouts too down the line, which is really quite neat. So you own the land, you own the trees, it's titled in your name. And then from there, you get the payouts as they happen. And then of course, the ability to get residency. So let's just jump right in, and we're going to cover first the why timber. I mean, if you're looking at this opportunity, it's important for you to know about the investment side of it as well. And so this will probably take about 10, 15 minutes, and then we'll jump really into the residency components. All right, so number one, why is it that people are investing in teak? Why are the ultra savvy investing in timber? Are you going to tell us, Betsy?
Yeah, so the first reason is pretty simple: giving back to nature. I'm sure you've probably heard stories that there are free farms
I know, it's breathtaking to even talk about this.
are being deforested at an alarming rate. And so, I mean, half the world's forests, natural forests, have already been cleared or in the process of being cleared. And 85 acres are destroyed every minute, which is a huge number when you really kind of sit down and think about it. So yeah, by reforesting, by replanting teak, we are committing to helping Mother Nature regenerate, filter the air, clean the air, give back to our community, larger global community.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And so something for you to note down. I don't have it written down in the presentation, but hopefully you have a pen and paper. I know the digital era, everyone's like taking notes on phones and computers and whatnot. But all of these farms that we're talking about are certified reforested. So what that means is you're committing to replanting. You cannot build a little log cabin on these homes. You can't do any of that. We are committed to replanting. So after we harvest cycle is 25 years, by the way, 25 years, we replant and we do it again. And that is an incredible advantage for those of you who are thinking about generational wealth stewardship and leaving that legacy. You leave it for the kids, you leave it for the grandkids. Now, here are some nice benefits to you, in addition to having the clean air and reforestation, is in Panama, there is no income tax, no Panamanian income tax on your harvest yield, and there's also no property tax. So nice advantages there, jot that down. And in Nicaragua, we got a tax exoneration. It was from 30-something% to 2%. So really nice benefits for committing to reforestation. In addition to that, we know that there's a demand for it, and that demand continues to increase. When you're looking at what to invest in, you want to understand what the supply looks like. Is there enough supply? Is there not enough supply? Is there too much supply? And what is the demand? Who is going to be the buyers? And with timber, generally, we've just seen this demand go up, but the supply goes down. Think about all of you who have looked for lumber recently. We're in the development business as well, so we track construction costs very regularly. Lumber prices have gone up 300%. 300%. And I just saw another article that was saying that they were going to be taxing woods going into the stage, I think another 20%. So, I mean, this is real, this is happening, and people are paying for the good wood, and good wood includes teak. It's been around for a while. So the global supply continues to be down, and we know that teak is being harvested at a rate of 8 to 12 times faster than it is being replanted. So basic economics there. You want to invest in something where there is a great demand and little supply. As the population increases, we know that the demand for fine hardwood continues to increase with that. And then also understanding who your buyers are, who's going to be buying this teak. This chart here shows the countries that are projected to be the most populous by 2100. And at the top, you'll see India and China. I'm going to guess that's no surprise to you. But fun fact is that India and China are also the two largest consumers of teak. Ownership of teak products is seen as a sign of wealth. It's luxurious. So having teak chairs, for example, or integrating teak finishes into your home and construction, because it is so durable, it's so strong, it can withstand the elements. In addition to that, we've looked at creating industries within the countries where the teak is growing, where our teak is growing in Panama, in Nicaragua. So we don't need to ship it out of the country, but we do know that there are countries out there that are consuming teak at a wild rate if it is we ever need to outsource. And then in addition to that, plantation teak has continued to grow in value compared to naturally deforested teak. Makes sense, really, when you think about it, because plantation teak is grown with the intent to harvest and then sell to the marketplace. We've seen teak is increasing on average of 5.5% per year. If anyone wants these charts or wants breakdown of our numbers, you guys got the email address, webinar@ecidevelopment.com, and we'll send that over to you. And then in addition to that, understanding supply. So there is a teak exportation ban on the 4 countries where teak is grown naturally: India, Laos, Indonesia, and Myanmar. This is for naturally growing teaks, but we just understand that it is such a valuable hardwood that people are just trying to get their hands, whatever they could get their hands on. Mm-hmm. And then last but not least, people are owning timber because of the returns. So before, when we were looking at the earlier slides, security popped up as maybe you're looking at this opportunity from the security perspective. And, we can't guarantee anything in the world. I think the only thing we can guarantee is we're going to die at some point, but we want to at least be able to do our research and understand the markets to the best of our ability. And timber has continued to outperform the stock market, continues to do well over the long time. The long term, you want to think about this as a long-term investment because there is true, real value to the lumber. This is a chart showing how timberland investors have continued to outperform the stock market investors. I'm going to guess that's probably not a surprise to anybody here on the line. I'm guessing most of you are looking for alternative investments. Mm-hmm. An investment of $10,000 invested in 1971 grew to about 1.5 million in 2010. So, what the point of this chart is that this is a 40-year hold period on timber. And this is very different, especially for those real estate investors on the line who may be used to having vacation rentals or long-term property rentals where you have that monthly check coming in or that regular check coming in. That's not the point of ownership of timber. Timber is really seen, for that generational aspect. Every 25 years is when we harvest teak and replant it. Every 25 years. Yes, there are payouts that happen in between, but the real bulk comes at the end of that 25th year. Dr. Steve Sugarroot, I hope some of you have heard of him. He's a pretty well-known economist. And what he says is trees grow through recession, they grow through wars, they grow through stock and real estate crashes. They grow through everything. They give you built-in investment growth that isn't guaranteed with a stock. And I can tell you from 2008 to 2012, during one of the worst recessions in history, the trees continued to grow. Talk about a hedge against inflation. This is incredible. What's really neat is teak doesn't care what's going on in the stock market. Teak doesn't care about COVID. Teak doesn't care about any of that. It's going to continue to grow. Now, here's a worst case scenario. Let's say 2020 was the year that we were going to harvest. It's the 25th year of the teak. We were ready to harvest, but then we couldn't do anything because we weren't allowed to move around the country. We weren't allowed to export or whatever the realities were. I don't know what the realities were, but let's just say that's the case. Well, let's just let the teak continue to grow. Every year it grows, it's growing in size, which means it's growing in value because there's more board feet at the end of the day to sell. So think about it like that. It's, not a fruit investment. Fruit, I've heard some people talk about mangoes or something along those lines, or apples that they're investing in. And that's very seasonal. If there's no market for that season, then you've just lost an entire season of crop and you get nada. You're probably paying something for management fees. So bear that in mind, is that we have the ability to let the trees continue to grow.
Yeah, no expiration date on a tree.
That's right. And so some people ask what are the harvest years, and there are a few good time value of money when you harvest, and it's age 25 and age 50. We're gonna obviously harvest at age 25 or closest to that, but yeah, no expiration date on it. Years, you'll have teak for years. All right, so who's already profiting from timber ownership? You'll probably see some names that you recognize. When you look at the percentage or millions of acres that they have, you see it's pretty substantial. And so for a long time, it's really been these family estates that have been acquiring farmland to grow timber and then to pass it on generationally. And, unfortunately, it really has been reserved for the top 1% and the ultra wealthy. And I say, unfortunately, I don't know about all of you in the audience here, but that definitely doesn't include me. And I don't have the ability to put hundreds of millions of dollars into one single investment. I don't have that money to put in any investment, but one investment particularly. So you can see though that it really has been reserved for this ultra wealthy, because when you're buying farmland, you want to buy large tracts of land so that you can harvest it and get good value from it. But when we opened up the Friendly Nations, or when the Friendly Nations used to open up and we subdivided our land into smaller parcels, it just made it easy. It was a no-brainer. As people, were looking for, maybe they weren't even looking for the opportunity, but they said, wow, this is an easy and affordable way for us to get in on the timber industry. Whereas before, we didn't have the $240 million to put and invest for our family. So just something for you to all consider if you haven't considered timber before. All right, so Beth, why don't you tell us a little bit more about timber? And I can keep you, I think some of you know I could talk forever here, but I'm going to take a quick break.
Yeah. So one of the questions we get asked a lot is why teak? There are so many other hardwoods out there. How and why did we choose teak? And there's a lot of great reasons why. One of the main reasons is because it is an exceptionally hard and durable oily wood. It can withstand the elements, which is why it's used in a lot of fine outdoor furniture. As well as very popular on boats. You'll see teak decking on large ships, smaller sailboats. And then one of the really neat things about it is that it's resistant after age 3 to insects, termites, fungus, rot, fire, really sort of almost any environmental concern that you would think of when you're thinking of an agricultural product. And that's really due to its exceptionally hard and oily makeup. As you can see here, if you're a boater, you're probably familiar with Chris Craft boats. They have their own trademark teak. We've mastered the art of woodworking line. I mean, these boats are 80, 100,000, probably more. So they know the quality of teak. They know that it's going to last. And that's what people are paying for. If you're online shopping and Adirondack chair and footstool, this is one chair and footstool, $793.
Round up to 800.
Yeah, and even 800. So if you have, yourself and your spouse and you want two, that's a cool 1,600 right there.
But they last forever.
But they last forever, exactly.
But it's true. People spend this kind of money.
Yeah. Teak shower mat, $250. Rachel's favorite, the teak horse that's actually a donkey.
Yeah, mule.
Mule.
For our animal lovers out there.
Yeah.
It's a funny story. We were in Argentina scouting a property a couple of years ago, and we had this couple on tour with us. We were doing this lovely sunrise horseback trip up the Andes, and he was telling me that he was watching the presentation one year, and he goes, you had a real critical error in the teak presentation. I'm like, oh my gosh, what was it? Like, I'd done a ton of research. We fact checked. I don't know what it is. He goes, the slide of the teak horse is not actually a horse. That's a mule. Look at the ears. I don't know this stuff. So, okay, it's a teak mule. I got to cross it out, I think, next time I write mule there. But what I think is pretty interesting about this example is that the wood that's used in the horse or mule is not actually, sorry, we got a phone call, is not actually like a finished lumber. It's a thinning. It's a piece of a thinning that's used. So there's just a lot of value in it even before age 25.
Yeah, and then so these gates, they looks like a normal gate that you might have in your home. Rachel and I were at a conference in Panama a couple years ago, met a fellow who makes these gates. He's a custom gate builder, uses a lot of teak because, like we said, it can stand the elements outdoors. They started about $65,000. He has a lot of celebrity clients. I think the one in that top corner belongs to the actress Anne Hathaway. So yeah, I mean, it's used in everyday construction. I know this is a loft in Tribeca, 45 million. Teak floors is one of the things that they really boast in there. And again, it's the exceptional qualities. It's also a beautiful wood. As long as you maintain it, it keeps that really beautiful golden color. But it also ages really beautifully into sort of a soft gray color as well, but very popular for outdoor furniture.
We need to get in here, Betsy, that picture. So it was actually for everyone, looking at teak and what it looks like and just the quality of it. Over last summer, Betsy was in California visiting her mom, and she sends me a picture, and she goes, guess what we're doing? Look at the picture. Is that teak? And you had, it was yours or your neighbor's?
It was our, my mom's landlord had a teak table and chair set on the back deck, and it had gotten covered in moss and dirt over the years, and we had nothing better to do during COVID, so we got out the pressure washer and pressure washed it, put on some teak oil, and it looked brand new. You would not have known. It was like night and day. So it just takes a little bit of care to really keep it up and keep those beautiful qualities that it has.
Oops, sorry there, guys. I'm zooming in.
Case in point, this chaise lounge chair that was pulled out of the ocean from the Titanic, refinished, and it looks brand new.
Incredible. And so that also shows that Teak has been around for a while.
Exactly.
You know, it's not, you know, we always hear about the new latest and greatest that people are, you know, printing in their backyard or whatever the case may be, but Teak has been around for a long time, and
it's not a manufactured product that we're
it will be around for a while. And so for Teak to grow properly, it has to be in the right location. We've just done a growing in the right location. We've been looking all around the globe truly for the right places for Teak, and ultimately we ended up on Panama, and then also Nicaragua on the east coast, or the east side of Panama rather. The land there is very fertile and perfect for growing Teak. This is 1999. This is from our first farm. So you can see it's about 22 years old. Actually, I guess it is about 22 now. Wow, time goes so quickly. I mean, you know, the thing is, you never realize like how quickly time goes until you're looking back on it and you're like, oh, that was 8 years ago. You know, the farm is just a little bit younger, but we continue with the farm visits. We like people to see their investment, hug it. And then when you're down there in Panama, you get started to do all the things you need to do for residency. One of my favorite aspects about the Teak program is that we have owners from all over the world of different ages. Our youngest investor, he was 21 at the time, and our oldest investor was in his 90s. And the 21-year-old, you know, he didn't have a family, doesn't have a family. And so he was like, I can see this for 2-3 harvests to profit for myself. And then from there, if you have kids or grandkids, pass it down. And our oldest one, he bought a handful of parcels, actually one for each of his great grandchildren. So it's neat to see. It's like the gift that just keeps giving. It just keeps harvesting, and you just keep replanting. So here's a quick recap of the farm. Sorry, a little delay there. Panama opportunities. So we have the teenage Teak and then also the newborn Teak. So let me just highlight here quickly. The teenage Teak is great for somebody who has a little bit more difficulty seeing into the 25-year horizon. You'll start to see the harvest at age 25. So 10 years from now, replant and do it again. Obviously, it's a bit more capital initially to get involved. It's an older farm, so therefore it has more value, more expensive. And then for those of you who are maybe a little bit younger or can think of somebody who you'd like to gift this to down the line, or perhaps you're just looking for lower entry, then consider the newborn Teak parcels. Just remember, you do need 2 newborn parcels in order to qualify for residency. All right, so how you benefit. And this is important, right? I mean, you should write all this down, but this is a really important one, is that you own the land and the trees. So you get title to it, it's yours. The only thing is that you cannot build whatever you want. You are committing to replanting. We harvest and do it again, harvest and redo it again. You can sell the parcels at any point since it's your land, but just bear in mind that you are the owner. And then latter years of profits. I think what I really like to see is the people who are thinking creatively about the ownership. So we have some owners who have a 15-year-old parcel, have a 1-year-old parcel in Nicaragua, a newborn parcel, and that way they get the staggered payouts because there's the big harvest at age 25, thinnings at age 12, 18, 20. So if you have age at the Teak that's different ages, you see payouts coming at different years, so you don't have to wait until one year. And of course, you have the professional management team who makes sure everything's growing properly for you. All right, so let's spend a couple of minutes here. This is important. I think this is why many of you are on the line. It's the personal freedom package and pairing up your Teak ownership with permanent residency. So you can see the example we gave here on the screen is the teenage Teak. Note that this includes the titling fees. So it comes out to a little bit less than $19,000. And then you pair that up with the personal freedom package, which includes Panama residency for the primary applicant, the bank account for the primary applicant. And then a lot of people are looking to plant their flags, their international flags around. So we've thrown in the Panama Corporation as well. And then it comes out for just a little bit more than $23,000, as Mike mentioned earlier, for your own Teak parcel, and for all of that included in the personal freedom package. Hear me out here. Dependents can be added. Dependents are an additional $1,900, and they include your spouse, your parents, or your children up to 18, or 18 to 25 if they're enrolled in college. And the reason I mention that is because this is one of the more unique programs I've come across where you can add your parents as dependents. I love that you're considering Mama Kim to be included as a dependent here. I think that's a a really great idea, you know, if you have the ability to do so. And maybe you want to protect your grandchild. Maybe you're the grandparent in this case, and then you want to get residency for your kid, and you also want to get it for your grandkids. Have your kid be the primary applicant. You can be added as the parent. Your grandkids can be added as the kids to the primary applicant, and then it works well. But we're going to talk about what the process looks like in a minute. But I do want to highlight, we do accept cryptocurrencies. So Ethereum, Litecoin, Monero, Bitcoin, and then USDT. So bear that in mind if you want to just spend a couple of your cryptocurrencies.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us some of the benefits of the Friendly Nations?
Yeah, so the Friendly Nations visa is probably one of the best visas available in Panama. There's a number, a good handful of them available. But the reason we chose the Friendly Nations visa is that, one, it's a permanent visa. You have it for life. You don't need to reapply. All you need to do to maintain it is visit Panama one day every 6 years. Pretty easy. Panama is a huge hub. It's pretty easy to get from almost anywhere in the world into Panama. The visa allows you to live in Panama full time if you want, or you can come and go as you please. If you're wanting to work in Panama, you're able to apply for a work permit. And it also can lead to citizenship. A lot of residency programs that are out there don't allow you to qualify for citizenship. If you did want to do that citizenship, it's a separate process. It can take a couple of years. And you do need to maintain that residency for at least 5 years before you can qualify for citizenship. But do know that in the back of your mind that is an option for you. Some of these things will be changing though.
Yeah.
Especially one of those is that permanency. The first 2 years, you do have to reapply, and it's a temporary residency. So get in now so you don't have to reapply and go through this process again.
Yeah, so as Betsy just mentioned, the major change is coming, folks. Major change is coming.
Yeah. To get the residency, you do need to go to Panama. A lot of people ask if you can do it remotely. No, you do have to get down to Panama. So if you can get it in your calendar sometime in the next 2 months to get down to Panama, you'll definitely want to do that. That first trip, you'll need to spend about 4 to 5 business days. During that time, you'll open up your personal bank account and you'll register with the immigration department and you'll receive your temporary residency card. It takes the immigration department about 4 to 6 months. With the influx of applications, it might be a little bit longer, but that's something that our attorneys in Panama will let you know once it's done. Then you can schedule a time to come back down. That next trip only needs to be about 2 to 3 days. You'll come, you'll get your permanent residency card, and then it's only 1 day every 6 years to maintain it. So all in all, you're not spending a tremendous amount of time in Panama when you're really considering that you're setting yourself, your family up to have this option for life.
Yes. And, you know, we have seen so many inquiries come in about, do I need to go in person? And, you know, I wish there was a way around that, but yes, you do. I know some countries have some more restrictions about travel. Unfortunately, Panama doesn't care. They have a deadline, and if you're not in by August, then you're not going to be grandfathered in, and they will have you invest more money to get the same residency. So just really bear that in mind. If you want to add dependents at a later date, you're able to do that. So you, as the primary applicant, come down now, get everything going, and then once you obtain your permanent residency, then from there you can have your dependents apply it, you know, later on down the line if they're not all able to come to Panama now.
Yep.
And then join the family. I think this is probably one of my favorite parts. We've probably helped close to 1,000 or more people. Yeah, maybe more than 1,000 people get their residency. I think, you know, I was on the phone with one of our referral agents a little earlier, and we were going through the presentation. I just started to like choke up a little bit as I was reading these, because, you know, some of these are really emotional, and we're all very much so a like-minded international family. And I don't know about all of you, if you've had the conversation with your friends and family about wanting residency in another country. I know for me, it was, you know, my parents just think I'm nuts. I'm from New York originally, and they couldn't understand why I'd ever leave this great state of New York and go to another country and get residency in another country, but I could just live in the US my whole life. And, you know, everybody has their own personal reasons for wanting to do something. Maybe you don't, you know, you don't like the quality of life. Maybe you're living a rat race you want to get out of. Maybe you don't like the politics. Everybody has their own reasons. And when you're able to find this group of people who all connect with you on something that may be a little out there, you really build this bond with them. And so I was going through the green one before I started to get emotional because Eric has become a good friend over the years. And it was just so exciting to see him accomplish something that was so incredibly important to him. And this is just a couple of people here on the screen, but there are many, many more. And I'm happy to connect you with them. And we have some testimonial videos from others when they came to the farm, if you want to see those. But there's just a really good group of people out there. And then maybe Panama is of interest to you to live, maybe not, but it's very geographically diverse and worth you looking at. I'm going to just look at the time here. All right. I'm going to buzz through these next couple of slides because I really want to focus on your questions that are coming in about residency. So I'm going to quickly highlight the Teak in Nicaragua. Nicaragua has truly been a champion for freedom over the last year and a half. And the reason I say that is because they took this very Swedish approach to how they wanted to handle COVID. And if you're somebody who appreciates your personal liberties and freedoms, then I would highly recommend you look at Nicaragua. The country never closed their borders. The government said, or the president said, you're all your own people, you're autonomous. If you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you're a business owner, you can decide if you want to stay open or closed. And so there was this real sense of, all right, well, I'll make that decision for myself. But I know if I have an elderly parent or family member at home, I probably won't risk their life by going to a beach party on a weekend. But that's up to you as an individual to decide. And so a lot of people appreciated this and could see themselves living in a country where this was sort of the mentality that was taken and the approach that was taken. So if that is something that resonates with you, please reach out to us generally about Nicaragua, whether you want to live there or spend time there. It doesn't have to be forever, but at least for a bit of time until you find a place that's comfortable for you. So we have multiple Teak parcels. We have the 1-year-old Teak and also the newborn Teak at Grand Pacifica at our property in Nicaragua. We have a large tract of land, about 2,500 acres. We have an on-site nursery. We have a team that is dedicated to just making sure the Teak is growing properly. And there's actually pictures from our farm that's now 4.5 years old. But at this point, it was just about 1. But here you can see we have 2 different farmland available, baby Teak, which is 1, and then newborn Teak, which is newborn, 0 years old. And depending on what your ultimate goal is, we can help you obtain ownership. And if you're looking for residency, you're able to obtain it. You just need to invest $30,000 or more into the country. So you would bundle it up. You can do newborn and 1-year-old, and then from there, able to apply for your residency. For both the countries, Panama and Nicaragua, we have a 101 recording. It's about an hour and a half, which just covers the top reasons why people are going there, what you need to know. And we really get more into the specifics about each country. I would say, if you're just looking for the quickest, easiest residency right now, focus on Panama, make Panama happen. And then from there, you can figure out where your lifestyle brings you. It doesn't have to be Panama, but at least you have that residency. And then you leave a timeless legacy. You do it for the kids and grandkids. And, in my case, I did it for my parents. And I mentioned before, I'm originally from New York, and I kind of tricked my parents to come on this trip. I was down in Panama. This was about 4 or 5 years ago at this point. I was down in Panama to get my permanent residency card. So I was there for a few weeks. And I told my parents to come down. I'd meet them at the airport and then plan the rest of their vacation. Vacation is what I called it. And then we had a Panama Teak tour conveniently while they were down there. I plopped them on the bus, and they ended up being tree huggers, as you can see here in the photos. It was probably about a year after, though, going to the Teak farm where they decided that they did want to become owners with us. So it was exciting. I don't know if they'll ever do residency. Truly, they can always be my dependents later on in life. But for them, just getting them to think internationally was a huge accomplishment. And then just your advantages. You leave a legacy and build that generational wealth stewardship. Think about, what you want to leave behind, and what better way to do that than through a certified reforested Teak property. The big thing here, on that real tangible asset, something that you can hug and put your arms around. If you're from the States, you can use your self-directed IRA in Nicaragua, or your cryptocurrency. You can do that in both of the locations. I saw somebody sending an email about, or text about, whatever it was, message about using their self-directed IRA. If residency is your primary goal, you cannot use your self-directed IRA, but you can, and you can really only use it in Nicaragua easily. You can in Panama, but it's just a lot more complicated and expensive. And then last but not least, I think why most of you are here, is obtain residency. So the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. So if you want to join us for any of the field trips we have upcoming tours, email us for the dates, webinar@ecidevelopment.com. We're constantly putting new dates on the docket. So just reach out when the time is right for you. And then we have some complimentary resources for you, a Teak resource guide, which is a conglomerate of the different charts and sheets that I had on the presentation, and then the Panama handbook. Email us. You can see webinar@ecidevelopment.com. Just type handbook for the Panama handbook in the subject line, or precious for that Teak white paper, and we'll email that your way. All right, email us for this chart. I'm a very visual person. I like to compare things. So if you're someone like that, reach out. We'll send you the chart, which compares the different opportunities. But I'm going to leave it off here. We'll open up questions. We do like to thank you all. And, over the years of being with the company for nearly 10 years, I've seen a lot of people who've been following us for a long time and never pulling the trigger. And that's okay. I understand everybody is doing their homework, and it takes time to really get to that point where you are ready to pull the trigger. But I also know there's a reality of analysis paralysis, where you just keep researching and researching and researching and don't do anything. If you're serious about residency, I really recommend that you just pull the trigger now. We like to incentivize you with a little discount there, $200 off each parcel. But this really isn't about us. At the end of the day, it's about you and making sure that you get in before these changes occur. And the last thing I want is for anybody to come back to me from the webinar and saying, well, it's like August 15th or September 1st or something, like, well, we really wanted to get in, but we didn't know if we wanted to or not. At that point, unless you're prepared to write a check for $200,000 or more for the Teak land by itself, then we're not going to be able to help you. So let us help you now while the opportunity is open. Like I said, usually we don't have these sort of urgent webinars because we do believe that there's, opportunity that's going to stay around for a while. But this one is written in stone that the decree is changing.
The train's leaving the station, so you're either on or you're off.
Yes, that is it. All right. So I see I have about 70 questions over here. The 70 just came in. So I'm going to just go through these one by one. I'm going to guess that some of you have very similar questions. So hopefully we'll group them together and just go from there. So Peter is asking, he's coming from Australia. He doesn't want to get tested or vaccinated. Peter, at this point, there's nothing that we could do for you if you're not willing to take a test. I think, if you're thinking test versus getting residency, like protecting yourself, I'd probably lean for protecting yourself. I understand that maybe the test doesn't line up with your personal decisions, but at the end of the day, are you willing to risk this opportunity because you wouldn't get a COVID test? That's not a question that I can answer for you, but that is something for you to consider. But at this point, there isn't anything to mitigate that. So John was saying, I read the new requirement for Panama is 300,000, and by 2023 it'll be 500,000. Yeah, they just bumped it to 200,000, and I haven't heard that it'll be up to 500,000 by 2023. But I mean, anything is possible. I knew that the residency was too good to last forever. So who knows what they'll bump it up to, if at all. All right, so I'm seeing somebody, is it possible to invest without visiting the area? So you can invest in the trees, you can own the Teak land without ever coming to Panama. But if you want to do residency, then you do need to make an appearance, a physical appearance in Panama before August. All right, someone is asking, my husband and I have an LLC inside a self-directed IRA. Do you know if anyone purchases asset from your business checking? Okay, do not mix self-directed IRA money and residency, none of that. For those of you from the States, if you want to use a self-directed IRA, note that your self-directed IRA investments cannot be self-serving and residency is. So if you are looking at this from a residency perspective, then please make sure you're using personal funds for the trees. And you are able from the investment side to use your LLC in Panama. There are a lot of fees for registering a foreign company to do business in Panama to own the trees. I'd recommend Nicaragua. You don't have those fees. But from the investment only side, you can do that with an LLC, but do not mingle residency fees and IRA money. So Perry's saying, can we make the payment to buy the land, Teak, and residency in crypto? Yes, sir, you certainly can. You see some of the cryptos listed up there. You just let us know which one you prefer to use, and we can make that happen for you. All right, great question here from Matt. He's saying for married folks, would this represent 2 times the $10,000 investment, or is the 10,000 applicable for couples? So it's applicable for couples. You just have one person be the primary applicant, and then the other is the dependent. No, we have had a lot of people who have common law marriages reach out. This is a civil law country, so it does need to be, you do need to have a marriage certificate. Unfortunately, common law does not work. All right, Tiffany saying, what are the tax implications for owning land in Panama? That's a pretty broad question there, Tiffany. I'm going to state, everyone hear me loud and clear. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a tax advisor. I'm not an attorney. So I would definitely consult with your local one. But in Panama, for the certified reforested property, there's no income tax on your harvest yield, and there's also no property tax. So just bear that in mind. But I would certainly talk with your local attorney or CPA about that. Ed, I see Ed is an awesome. Ed, send us an email right now and we'll make sure we get those details over to you. All right, so Mike is asking, what laws on property ownership and other residencies affected when this changes? So none of the laws on property ownership will change. You still will have title to it. It's yours. But what's changing is the minimum investment that's needed to apply for this specific residency. So previously it was $10,000, it'll be $200,000. I did have some previous owners reach out and say, well, since I bought the land prior to August, am I grandfathered in? And the answer is no, you just have to visit, you have to physically visit before August in order to be grandfathered in. All right, so, okay, this is great. Nat is asking about fees, and let's definitely talk about fees because I want people to hear us loud and clear on what numbers look like. There is the cost for the parcel by itself, and you can see that number in here, and you can see my cursor there. That's the number for the parcel by itself. And then the number below it includes the titling fees. Titling between Nicaragua and Panama are different. In Panama, it is 5% of the purchase price plus $600 lawyer fee. And then in Nicaragua, it's 3%. So that's why for the last one, because we have Nicaragua and Panama farms, there's no number at the bottom, but do note that you do need to pay the titling fee in order to get the title to it. And then residency, because this is not, you're not obligated to get residency, it's a separate number, $4,680. Now, there are annual fees per parcel. In Nicaragua, it's $125 a parcel, $150 a parcel. In Panama, it's there in small wording at the bottom, but we do have it very clear in the business plan. And these numbers, this is for the annual cleanings that happen. So every year we go in and we clean the underbrush that's growing in the bottoms of the farm. We don't want any intercropping. We don't want anything growing underneath. And we trim the branches. We want from about 2/3 down. So that is a very manual process, happens every year for the health of the trees. So that is the fee there. If you're looking for residency, reach out, ask us for a list of the requirements. Something that you do need to have, and which we mentioned, is the Panama bank account. In your Panama bank account, you need to have $5,000. This is your personal money, your own money. You put $5,000 in, that's for the primary applicant, and then an additional $2,000 per dependent. That money needs to stay in your bank account as you're going through the residency process. The bank writes a letter to the immigration office, says, John Smith is in good standing with the bank. He has mid-4 figures in his bank account. He's good from our end for residency. Once you obtain residency, you can take the money out, you get a debit card, get a savings account, whatever you want, that's your money. So we don't include that number in our fees because we never take it. It's not ours, it's yours, but it's very clear in the residency requirements document. Please reach out to us about that. And then there are some documents that you're going to be required to get that we can't pay for you. One is like your background report. So that is something that we can pay for. The other is, what else do we have on there?
Any courier fees to send your documents down to Panama. We're not going to pay for your hotel or your travel, but otherwise, we did try to make it as comprehensive as possible so that there's no surprises.
Yeah, and you'll really see that there's the comparison chart here, but then in all of our documents too, we state all the numbers that you expected, your parcel cost, the parcel cost plus the titling fees, the residency fees. So it's pretty straightforward. We do like to be as transparent as possible. And then yes, you own the the trees. And then at the end, you can see the numbers here. These are the projected net proceeds. How we as a company make money is at the end of each thinning and each harvest. We have a fee, a percentage based on the income that comes in. So our goals align with yours. We want to be as profitable as possible because that means more money in our bank account, which also means more money in your bank account. So the goals really do line up there. It's very transparent in the business plan. Reach out to us if you'd like a copy of that business plan. All right, I see someone's asking about a recording. Yes, we will have the recording there. Someone is asking about the potential negative of a UK resident obtaining Panama residency. I can't really think of anything. I'm not too familiar with UK law, but just think of it as a green card. Essentially, it gives you access to live in another country. You can have as many residencies across the globe as possible, as long as you're able to fulfill each one of them and maintain each one of them. So I can't think of anything, but I also don't know what your specific country requires, but I can tell you that there's no downside to having multiple residencies. All right, Brian is saying, what does it take to pave a path for an extended family? So at this point, parents can be added, and then kids up to 18 or 18 to 25 if they're enrolled in college. I don't know if there's anyone beyond that you'd like. I've had some adult children wanting to add their siblings. Unfortunately, that's not going to work. Each person will need their own parcel, then they can add their immediate family to that. But unfortunately, there's not really an easy way for extended family. Eric is saying, will we need to travel to Panama to complete the process before August? Yes, please do. And that's the only way you can be grandfathered in. Hello, Joan. That's very sweet for the message there. Okay. So, Arnold, great question. Give me a quick moment as I pull up my calculator here, because I do want to run the numbers that you're asking for. So Arnold is saying that he has a wife and 3 kids. So he wants to know that the costs here. So this is a good exercise for us to all do together. So let's say, Arnold, you're going to do the teenage Teak parcel there with the $200 off. So $16,680 times the residency fees, which is 5%, $600 in attorney fees. Oh, I got it right there on the screen. $18,114. And then we're going to add one primary applicant, which would be you or your wife. And then it looks like you'll have 4 dependents. So when we add you to it, and then, oops, don't clear out. Then we have 1 dependent, 2 dependent, 3 dependent, 4 dependent. It comes out to $30,394, $30,394. Now note, you still need to put in that money into the bank. So that's $5,000 plus $2,000 per dependent. So that's, what does that come out to? Oh my gosh. 4 times 8, so 13,000 that you need in the bank account. I think did I do my math right there? Oh gosh, it's been a long day, guys. But hopefully you're all doing much better job at math than I am. But I think that's about right. So that money will have to sit there in the bank account. All right. Yes, it is necessary to show evidence of a test. For entering, it can either be a rapid test or a PCR test within 48 hours of traveling. Someone's asking about U.S. taxes. I don't know. I would recommend you talk to your U.S. tax accountant for what you'd be owed. Everybody's in a very different situation, so you will want to talk to your accountant. Kathy saying you have to physically go down there to get the visa and buy the Teak. Not to buy the Teak, you can do the Teak ownership from abroad, but for the residency, yes, you do need to go there in person twice. The first time is to register with immigration, and then get the bank account open, and then the second is to pick up your permanent residency card. All right. Considering the limited time for residency application, how confident are you to fulfill the personal freedom package before the deadline of August? Eric, that's all on you, my friend. I've had people who've been able to gather the information within 4 to 5 days. I think the longest stall in all of this is the person applying, because you're going to be required to get certain documents. So for example, to open up the bank account, you'll need reference letters from your bank. You'll need personal reference letter, professional reference letter. In addition to that, you need, for residency, you need to get a background report. In the States, I know it can take 13 to 15 weeks to get your background report. There are expedited channelers. You can just write expedited FBI channelers in Google. FBI will give you a list. If you're not from the States, I don't know the specific requirements for each country. They're all different. but look into that. Most of them, if not all, probably do have an expedited channeler. But we introduce you to a residency coordinator who goes through all of this with you line item by line item. She'll give you a list of everything you need. She'll ask you to scan a copy of it to her and that in the full package. And then once it looks good, you'll mail the original copy down. So please, please, please take it seriously if this is something you want. It will take a little bit of time to get the documents together. And like I said, we've had people who've been able to get it together like that. And then I've had clients since 2013 who've been dragging their feet on getting the documents. So it really just depends on you and your speed. All right, Jeremy here saying how many harvests are included in that projected returns? So that's one harvest and then multiple thinnings. So thinnings happen at age 12, 18, and 20. And then the big harvest happens at age 25. We replant and we do it again. You are obligated to replant because it's a certified reforested property. All right, so I see somebody's here asking about the Indian citizens. So with this specific residency, there's a list of about 54 countries that are deemed friendly to Panama. And India is not on it, China, Nigeria. These are some of the countries we get a lot of inquiries from. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do with this program to help you there. There is a reforestation visa. I've heard that's changing. I don't know the specifics. We don't offer any opportunities with the reforestation. Ours is strictly the friendly nations visa. But you do have to be from one of the friendly nations countries. Kathy, who manages the trees and property? We have a plantation manager who takes care of everything. Their only job is to make sure that trees are growing properly. After age 3, teak is resistant to fire, rot, termites, bugs, insects, all those great things, or not so great things that Betsy mentioned before. So, we don't really have much risk there. The risk would be earlier on in the first 3 years, but we do mitigate that with firewalls, extra care and love. But, worst case scenario, there's a fire within the first 3 years and we replant and we do it again. Yes. So the person is asking about, Perry here's asking about rights to the teak and the actual land. Yes. You own the trees and you own the land. You get title to the land. All right, I'm seeing a lot of questions here. I mean, we're over 100 questions and I'm seeing that a lot of these are kind of the same thing. So let me just add a couple more general statements. And then if you have any specific question, then reach out to us with the email address below, webinar@ECI Development. I think most of you at this point have been introduced to a property consultant or a property consultant has been introduced to you. So they will be your direct contact, your point person for getting these questions answered. Please be just a wee bit patient with us. We have been getting just thousands of messages on a daily basis for people who are looking to get started. So we really want to talk to those of you who are serious about this because there are many people who are serious and we want to get you the sort of assistance that you need ASAP so that we can get this moving for you.
Hey, Rachel.
Yes, Mike.
Let me just mention, I saw that at one point the webinar participants topped 400. It was in the 400s. And so what you're saying is absolutely correct. There are a ton of people who are already in process. They've already made the decision to do this, and they are working with our residency and property consultants right now. And we are busy. But again, I just want to come back and thank you, Betsy, because you're right here in front of me for the extra hours, the weekends, the early mornings, the late nights to get back to everybody. Again, if this is something you want to do, please reach out with a message. I see the questions are at 99 plus. I don't know what that means, but there's a lot of questions still unanswered, of course. Most of the time, the documentation that you can request has most of the answers. The frequently asked question sheet has been developed over the last 3, 4, 5 years. It really is an incredible amount of information that covers most topics. Get it, look at it, and get on the phone, set an appointment with one of the residency consultants, again, but have that knowledge already internalized so that you can move from the questions that everyone, I mean, look, one of the reasons we do webinars for many things is, people ask, well, what's the weather like? The general questions. If we can answer them all at the same time, then what the residency and property consultant can do for you is drill into what's important for you and tailor the exact situation and solution for your specific needs. So please download the information, look at it, read it. And as Rachel said, please be patient. We will get back to everybody as quickly as possible. The only other thing I would say is with the volume of emails that are coming back and forth and with very similar text and subject lines, a lot of times your email provider will throw an email from us into spam. Again, we're sending out literally thousands of emails with the same basic content every day right now. So please, if you don't get an answer back, check your spam filters, look for them there, please. We do get back to people. We will get back to people. If you prefer to be on the phone, WhatsApp, Signal, Telegram, texting, let us know. We will communicate with you however you most prefer communication to happen. This is what we do. We are 100% about personalized service, but that also depends upon you. Get the information, read it, read through the frequently asked questions, know your stuff so that when you get somebody on the phone, you can really drill down into things that are important for you, and your property specialist, your residency expert will be able to help you and tailor this to exactly what you're looking for. So again, we are exceptionally busy, exceedingly busy. Help us help you. And please be sure to check your spam filters. So important right now. Back to you, Rachel.
All right. Well, I'm just trying to text some of you back or answer the messages back here. So you just check your Q&A box there. I've been answering some of you back just directly, but otherwise, exactly. I mean, reach out to us. If your question is not being answered, please just email us now, webinar@ecidevelopment.com. We're going to pass your email off to the property consultant, and they can just start getting you your answers right away. But what we're going to do after this webinar, it'll take about an hour. We're going to get this recording up online. You'll be able to access the recording. We'll also send you the reservation form if you're ready to move forward. I know, like I mentioned, a lot of you have been following us for a while, and I think this is just what we needed to get you moving to the next step. It's not us, it's the change in the program. But like I mentioned, we want to help you. We're here to help you. So please let us know what your thoughts are, and we'll go from there. So I'm just seeing a lot of questions about the dependents. You can add dependents at a later date, but please at least get one primary applicant through the process now, so that you are able to get grandfathered into this. I think that was the one I just saw. Thank you, Ed. Someone asked where we're living. We live all over the place. We're just currently in Belize right now, Francis, but I spent a lot of time in Belize and Panama. Lived in Nicaragua for a while. So the nice part about our jobs is we can do it from anywhere. So we got this global nomad or digital nomad lifestyle going on. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, guys, again, I'm just seeing a lot of these questions coming in. We're going to send you the comparison chart that you saw on this slide. We're going to send you the questionnaire if you want to move forward. And then in addition to that, we'll send you the recording. So with that being said, thank you all for spending your morning, afternoon, evening with us. It was such a global bunch. I love it. You know, Scotland, Greece. I saw somebody there in Latvia, Scotland, a couple of you in Scotland, which was neat to see. UK represented, Australia, obviously the US and Canadians, a lot of Canadians. I think you're all getting a little stir crazy up there. I don't blame you. Some people in Belize, Ecuador, Mexico. So again, everyone, thank you so much. I really enjoy speaking with you all and really growing our internationally minded community. So Mike, Betsy, any last words?
No, thank you so much, and look forward to chatting with all of you and getting you down to Panama ASAP to get this started so that you can join us in Panama.
Yes, awesome. All right, thank you, everybody. Have a really great rest of your day, evening, afternoon, whatever it is, and we'll be in touch soon. Bye-bye.